Got it on you too. Gotta wash you off though. There. The first few streams of milk have the most potential to carry bacteria, so you just want to get those out and increase the cleanliness of our end product. All right, got our pail here. Now, when you're hand milking a goat, you're not pulling on the teat. This is the wrong movement. You're going to be drawing milk from the udder down into the teat and squeezing it out. And then you're going to have to let go to allow everything to refill. You'll be able to feel it as you're working with it. It's kind of like a water balloon. You can feel when it gets a lot more tension down in the teat, when you've got milk inside the teat to squirt out. So I'll be pinching around at the udder, a little bit above the teat, to fill the teat with milk, and then get that milk exiting. You'll notice too that I have a different hand motion for my right hand. It involves pinching the udder in a similar fashion, but I'm using the palm of my hand and my forefinger to get the milk out of the teat. See? I've got my thumb back here and my forefinger pinching the bottom part of the udder, the top part of the teat, filling that teat with milk, and then I can put my finger down against the palm of my hand here and get milk to come out. This kind of motion works really well with goats with small teats. This just happens to be how my hands do the motion. One hand does one type of milk expression and the other hand does the other type. Don't know why. You'll find your own rhythm just as I have. Now sometimes I find myself switching hands because it's easier for me to milk with my left hand than it is with my right, for whatever reason. So sometimes, sometimes I'll massage the udder once things start to slow down, and that can encourage more milk to come down into the teat from the udder. She's basically empty there, but there's one more step. Okay, so once I've got as much milk as I can get out from sitting beside her, I go ahead and move behind the goat. The change in position allows me to put separate pressure on a different part of her udder with my hand, and I do get a couple more squirts of milk out. The more milk you can get out, the better. It's going to keep the doe's milk production up. So that's basically it. That's what we've got out of Schwendley. So at this point you could use a teat cup to do a teat dip and a final teat wash on your dough. I have gotten out of the habit of using this mainly because when their kids nurse and they come off, there's no one following behind the kids making sure that their teats and the opening to their udder is clean. I figure there's a possibility that you can be a little bit too clean with your methods. The idea is that when you're done milking, the teat remains open on the dough, and it allows an opportunity for bacteria to enter the udder and cause mastitis. Oftentimes, the opening seals itself and closes off within about 15-20 minutes anyway. Most of my does don't come right off the milk stand and then go lay down in like a pile of poop. They're up walking around, they're grazing, so I haven't experienced a problem, but if we did, we could definitely bring this back into the routine. Up next is little Barely here. Barely is a year old. She's a Nigerian dwarf, and she's really tiny. Her teats are also really tiny. So my milking method with her is a little bit different. I do have a video on milking tiny teats, but we'll refresh here maybe with a little bit more detail than that video has. So just like before, Barely is going to get her udder washed. Up here is where I washed Schwenley's udder. I'm going to turn this around, spray this clean side, and clean Barely's udder with it. Get those first few streams of milk out. You can probably see how I have to more pinch her teats than grasp. It's not really this much motion as it is this kind of motion, or this kind, like a trigger shooter, like this. That's gonna be more what we're going for. I'll probably pinch a little bit, but it's a lot smaller of a movement for a smaller udder. She also gets a smaller bucket. I have to be able to fit my hand plus the bucket under the dough, so sometimes it needs to be smaller. So you can see I've got this pinching motion here, pinching her teat. I've got my thumb up against her udder back here, and I'm pinching the teat with my pointer finger into the palm of my hand to express the milk out. It's important that you release the pressure after every squeeze so you can allow more milk to enter the teat. So you can see my thumb up here. It's drawing milk down into the teat. Practice makes perfect. We've been hand milking goats for a little over a year. We've had a little bit of a break for pregnancy and kidding, but you'll develop your own routine. These are just general guidelines. Sometimes tiny teats equal big messes, so do your best, but I am often spraying myself with milk, especially when I'm milking little tiny teats like this. Sometimes as her udder begins to empty, I can employ more fingers into the action, but I do find that I make more of a mess when I divert to doing that. Now, at the end of milking Barely, I do what's called stripping, where you pinch the top of the teat right at the udder, right where the udder turns into teat, this junction right here. Pinch and pull down. And this is called stripping the teats. And certain does respond better to this than others. You'll find that you'll have a different milking method and routine with each doe. So again, we're gonna go to milking the rest of her out from behind. I'm gonna massage her udder. It's a little bit forcible, but if you see kids and the way that they bump their mama's udder, it's pretty firm. And I'm going to grab like the OK symbol around what is really the bottom of her udder and draw milk down into the teat and spray that into my bucket. See, we're making a mess. That's just how it goes sometimes with little teats. Little teats can be wild. We get about a cup of milk out of Barely. It's worth doing for us because if we don't milk Barely, we don't get quite half a gallon a day. So she ensures that we're able to get to that goal. Alright, and just like with the other goats, I'm going to be washing Margot's udder. This is the sides that I used for Schwenli and Barely. I'm going to flip it around and use this upper quadrant here for Margot. Margot is an Alpine mix. She's a small Alpine, so I guess she could be considered a mini Alpine. Ultimately, with her first home, she was a rescue goat, so we don't really know too much about her. Except for that she makes a decent amount of milk for her size, that's for sure. Got my larger milk pail here. And it's the same idea. Using this kind of pinching motion to draw milk down into the teat. It fills up like a water balloon and you can squeeze it out. It's not a pulling motion, it's just a squeezing motion. And on this hand, I do more of this pinching motion and bring my finger down into my palm. Two different ways to do it. I happen to do both at the same time. It's just how my brain works. You may notice too that your goat has one teat that either flows faster than the other or not as fast as the other, however you look at it. Margot, this teat right here, it's like the opening is bigger than the other teat, and this side of her udder empties a lot quicker. I don't know if it's the way that I'm milking, but it seems like the stream is a lot more large than on this side. I might be making it up, but this side here is also the one that her kid nurses on the most. That could play a role. Sometimes I find it helpful too when I've got quite a lot of milk out of the udder to be able to move some of the volume of milk down with one hand, grab that volume of milk and send it into the teat with my other hand. It's kind of like a push, pinch, squeeze motion. I don't do that with all of my goats, but it does help get most milk possible out of some of them. And again, we're gonna come behind the goat, massage, massage. This is how we're going to be spraying milk out into the bucket. You may find that you're most comfortable, or you and your goat are most comfortable with you milking this way from behind as opposed to from the side. It's a little bit easier to see what you're doing, especially if you're working with a smaller goat. So try this position, it may help. Now that we're done milking the mamas, it's time to let the babies out. They're the only ones that are allowed left in here. Time to get out. Hi, babies. Are you ready to come out? You sure are. Come on, let's go. Let's go. We're free. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go play. Let's go play. That's our milking routine. I hope that helped you get a little bit more confidence to hand milk. I much prefer hand milking over machine milking. There's a lot less cleaning and sterilization and all that involved. Plus, getting my hands on the udder, I feel like I'm able to be more in tune with the goat and any possible issues she might have. I just feel like the more hands-on I can be, the better producer I'm able to be.